I didn't get a chance to meet with Meryl or any of the other members, but I just feel like I'm so lucky to even see my name being written next to them at the end credit roll. I think the reason why I'm an actor is because it's sort of, I'm an innately curious individual, and I temporarily, for those few months, I get to live somebody else's life, almost borrow their soul and like live it through them. So I get to have newer sets of problems in life, newer things that excite me, newer things that make me sad. And it's kind of boring to be like Adarsh all the time, right? To share everything with the world doesn't come naturally to me, and I think I'd suck at it. Is why I don't do it, honestly. I'm learning how to share more with people. But I feel shy initially sometimes. I like singing, I like animals. Yeah. And I like to travel. And I like plants. Being very basic, I don't know what else to say. Yeah, but I've not had an accent coach or a dialect coach. I've just done it by myself because it's also very expensive. I feel the real change will only come about when we have more Indian writers in the West. Yeah. Or anywhere. Writers from the subcontinent. That's when the change will happen. Honestly, right now what I want to do is that I want to shoot my own documentary. I want to make some music, and I want to travel a lot.
Hello everyone, welcome to News 18 Showsha, and today we have with us Adarsh Gourav, who is currently basking in the success of the Apple TV Plus show Extrapolations. Hi Adarsh.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to finally catch hold of you because you're never in the country anymore.
That's not true actually. I've traveled the most in my life only in 2022. Got my passport made only 5 years ago, so I haven't traveled a lot. I was fortunate to travel for this show. The show is based in India, but we shot a lot of it in New York because logistically it just worked out better for the crew to be able to stay there. Because most of them belonged from New York or areas nearby. So yeah, we shot for almost 2.5 to 3 weeks in New York and 5 days in Bombay, and I got to visit America for the first time in my life.
Oh wow, that's great. So the show has released now. Yeah. What's been the feedback like generally?
In general, I think the feedback's been positive, and I think it's a very important show to be coming out at this point in time when there is a lot of conversation that is happening about climate change and about the effects of it. And I feel that what better a platform than to talk about this than a TV show being made by some of the best people, and Meryl Streep and Tahar Rahim and David Schwimmer, Forrest Whitaker. I feel like when these people talk, people listen. So I feel like they're using their power in the right way, and I'm very, very fortunate to have been part of such a nice show.
So what was like your reaction when you came to know that you have actually bagged this show, that you're going to be a part of it?
I was very excited, but also I didn't know that all these people were in the other episodes.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was purely excited because it was sort of a sci-fi show. Scott Burns was show running it, and Richie Mehta was going to direct it. And I was just incredibly happy that they thought that I could potentially play this character, and that I would also get a chance to visit New York. Yeah. And see New York as a city, because you've grown up watching it in so many films and shows,
and romanticizing it.
Yeah, you've romanticized it. You have an idea about what it is already because you've seen so much of it. Right. But yet when you step into New York, you realize that it's everything it is and everything you think it wouldn't be. It's such a beautiful city and melting pot of the world, literally. So I'm so glad that I got to visit it.
So Adarsh, like I was telling you before we started rolling about, so climate change is of course something that needs immediate attention, and we all know there are conversations happening about it. There are summits, but when I watched it, it sort of made me sit up and actually think so deep that what is going to happen to us? I mean, like you said, this is happening right now. It's not really the future. When you read the script, when you shot for it, was there a moment like this that you actually sat up and you were like, oh, time is really ticking?
Throughout the script, I think, like every scene of it reminded me of how grave the future is, and the future we are living in right now, and a lot of us denying it. Yeah. It's a scary position to be in, and there were some things that I completely didn't know, like about the seed vault that they show in the actual show, is is actually present in Iceland. So where all the important seeds of the world are being stored in case there's an apocalypse or in case there's like a event that's like, you know, like catastrophic, to sort of revive civilization. Also, like a lot of climatologists and scientists were consulted when each of these episodes were being directed.
Right.
So Scott actually sat with them and wrote the show, sort of consulting them, right? Like, so none of these things are set in fiction. They're all representative of what our reality is or will be in the near future. So, for example, the whole idea of economies becoming nocturnal. Like in our episode, getting out in the day comes with dire consequences. So, like, why then, for example, to be nocturnal is more important in the future, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
because all the businesses, everything will sort of, like, everything will be conducted in the night because it will be impossible for us to get out in the day and go about. So, yeah, like, so many things that were also new to me and fascinating, but like scary at the same time, because when you read it and then you get to live it through the person you're playing, and the surroundings are also created in a way where it makes you believe that this is real, what's happening.
Yeah.
It's quite crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, like you said, Scott Z. Burns, he's the showrunner,
Yeah.
right? Have you had the opportunity to actually sit down with him, chat with him?
Yeah, no, we spoke once on Zoom, and then we got to meet each other when I was in New York. He's a very sweet, humble guy. Like, when you speak to him, he's like any other regular, well-informed man who's sensitive and who's aware and caring about the things that you should be caring towards. And, you know, he was interested in knowing about India from my side, about like where I come from and what my story is and all of that. And it's been a pleasure to work with him.
Yeah. And you know, what about the other actors? I mean, I remember when the news first came out that you're going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
The first thing was like, oh, he's going to, you know, work with Meryl Streep. I remember in one of the interviews, I mean, Vicky Kaushal was quite shocked. He choked on his coffee, I remember. So, you know, what was it like on set? Have you had the chance to like sit down, speak?
They're all in different episodes.
Yeah, that's why.
In my episode, there's Kerry Russell, who was just in Cocaine Bear. There's me, there's Gaz Chowdhury, who plays Neil, and there is Waris. There's also other actors, but like the primary cast. But I didn't get a chance to meet with Meryl or any of the other members, but I just feel like I'm so lucky to even see my name being written next to them at the end credit roll. Yeah, you know, like, I wish that I had the opportunity to meet them in person, and I'm sure I will in the future.
Yeah, that's great. Or even David Schwimmer, for that matter. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so... I mean, that's
Grew up
Ross.
watching Friends and
Seeing him,
Yeah.
seeing Ross like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible. No, I wish that they were in my episode, but you know, each episode is standalone, in the sense that they're part of the same universe, and there are one or two things that happen per episode that sort of carry forward to the next one.
True.
But yeah, overall they're independent of each other, and they've been directed by different directors. They're set in different geographical locations. So yeah.
But Adarsh, tell me something, going forward or even now, how do you plan on balancing both the worlds, Hindi cinema out there? You have an agent there.
Yeah.
Does that get overwhelming sometimes?
Not at all. I feel my focus is entirely just on being part of good stories. It doesn't matter to me where they're being made. If it gets made in Algeria, I want to be available for that. If it's being made in Kerala, I want to be available for that. My interest just lies in being part of good stories and working with the most creative people and people who tell personal stories that genuinely affect them. That's where my interest lies. So yeah, I've been auditioning a lot with my agents in the West, both in America and in London.
Yeah.
So I hope that I get more chances to work globally, and I'm getting to work with really fantastic directors in India. Just worked with Rima right now, Rima Kakti. I'm filming for a film with her, and then you know, I got to work with Arjun. Zoya produced Kho Gaye Hum Kahan, so Arjun directed that. Raj and DK on Guns and Gulabs. So I'm really, really happy with the kind of work that I've been doing and I've been getting, and I hope that I can only work with everybody that I wish to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you had met, you went to Nagpur and you had met these farmers' families,
Sure.
you know, before you started shooting for this. I think you did something similar for the White Tiger also, where you actually went to a tea stall.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I want to know, Adarsh, is how important are these things for you as an actor, and going forward, how do you plan on keeping this process of approaching your character so sacrosanct?
I think the reason why I'm an actor is because it's sort of, I'm an innately curious individual, and I temporarily, for those few months, I get to live somebody else's life, almost borrow their soul and like live it through them. So I get to have newer sets of problems in life, newer things that excite me, newer things that make me sad. And it's kind of boring to be like Adarsh all the time, right? Because you know what's happening, you become predictable in everything that's going to happen almost in your life. And then I find the joy in that, in being able to live as somebody else and then making their problems my own and learning about things and about life through them, through their eyes. So I feel what I do is very, very important to me, and it is one of the biggest reasons I act. So yeah, I did that for White Tiger. I went to Nagpur and I met these widows of these farmers, and they spoke about how life was till the day that their husband committed suicide, and how life has been since, and the kind of effect that it's had on them, and how they think about the world, what they think about the government, what they think about climate change, whether they have any opinion at all, whether what they want their children to be. And like small things like this is what I feel makes a person. So for me, it's very important to understand the social politics and the societal politics that a person goes through in their lives, is why I do what I do when I go to Nagpur or go to Delhi. So yeah, and while we were going there, I went there in a truck, because at some spot we were going in a car, and then there's a truck that was brought because I asked him if I can drive the truck, and they said no, you can't because you don't have a license. So I said, okay, let me just sit in the truck and chat with the driver. So I was just talking to them about how life is for him to be away from his family for extended periods of time, what he does when he feels lonely, and when he stops at these random dhabas across the country, what does he do when he's sleeping alone at night, or just basic small things that you think about are important for you to understand when you're playing a character like this that's so far away from my reality. And I also got to drive the truck a little bit inside the dhaba. The driver was sitting next to me, obviously, he was very careful. But yeah, I got a sense of the steering wheel and the gearbox, because a lot of the driving shots were done in a studio in New York, and the truck would be stationary. But it was important for me to be able to communicate that what's happening is real, so I wanted to make sure that I know the weight of the steering and how much it takes to sort of turn, and how hard do you want to press how hard the gear shift should be, and things like that. So and I had a great time doing all of this.
You just said that I want to play different characters because just being Adarsh all the time is boring. Predictable. But who is Adarsh Gourav? I mean, there's a reason why I'm asking you, because people do not know much about you. You have, very consciously, I think, stayed away from the public glare, the media glare. Tell us a little bit about who Adarsh Gourav is.
To share everything with the world doesn't come naturally to me, and I think I'd suck at it. Is why I don't do it, honestly. I'm learning how to share more with people. But I feel shy initially sometimes. Although I'm not shy as an individual, I'm just I don't know what to do sometimes, which is why I stay. I keep things to myself. But I don't know. I mean, what do you want to know? I guess I like singing. I like animals. And I like to travel. And I like plants. Being very basic, I don't know what else to say. I don't know how to introduce myself.
You're just like one of us, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, why would I be any different?
No, in the sense that you haven't, let all the spotlight, the limelight really take over you, engulf you.
Yeah, no, I find all that very trivial.
It's transient too.
Yeah, and it's very, I mean, it bores me.
Okay.
There's nothing exciting about. In fact, it makes me uncomfortable to be suddenly in a space where there are more number of people who know me, because then suddenly I feel there's a load on me to sort of now entertain them, or maybe they think of me as somebody else, and then I've got to so yeah.
Okay. Adarsh, I was reading one of your interviews. This was just, I think, after the release of the White Tiger. You said that of course you have an agent out there in the West. There's also a dialect coach, and you're trying to sort of...
When I came right off White Tiger, I mean, one of the best advices that he's given to me in my life was that he said, if you want to work in America or anywhere outside, you have to learn the accent. Because more often than not, you will be approached for auditions that are in which the character is from New York, right? Or is from Washington DC, or is from Arizona or somewhere. So what's important for you is to immediately learn the most neutral form of American accent that you can.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So like the first thing I did once the pandemic hit was I went and watched and practiced while watching every free video that was there on YouTube about like about the American accent. It's about the southern accent, about like the neutral New York accent. I watched all the videos, kept practicing every day till I reached a certain point where I feel, okay, now I need some kind of guidance to get better, which is when Zachary Coffin, who's now a friend, but at that point in time was just an acquaintance. And I hit him up and I said that, hey, I need your help in like sort of improving this. And then he took some 6-7 sessions with me for free. I mean, just these incredible people that I meet, you know, like... And yeah, but I've not had an accent coach or a dialect coach. I've just done it by myself because it's also very expensive.
But that's just to sort of, you know, get through auditions. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mainly just for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So that if ever there is an opportunity that comes, I'm not unprepared for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, there's one more thing, Adarsh, I would want to get your perspective on. So, of late, there's been a lot of conversations happening about colorblind casting.
Right.
Yeah. And do you see a change in the scripts that are coming your way from the West? Do you see a change in the characters written for Indian people there? Do you see colorblind casting?
Well, you know, it depends on how open the filmmaker and the casting director and your agents are. So I can tell you that 8 out of the 10 auditions that I give, the names are always white, are always Sean or William or Richard, or they're never Gaurav or Neil or... So I barely get to audition for Indian names. Now there's a reason for that. The reason is that filmmakers are being more fluid about their choices. My agents who believe in me believe that Richard could be a second generation Indian, or Richard could be a second generation Egyptian, and I could look Egyptian, or I could look Iranian. So there's that belief that comes in from all quarters. Having said this, I feel the real change will only come about when we have more Indian writers in the West.
Yeah.
Or anywhere. Writers from the subcontinent. That's when the change will happen. Because once the writers are there, they will accurately write about what else could an Indian be but a scientist or a doctor or a driver, or these occupations that have already been seen on screen, that have been portrayed by Indian actors. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why these stereotypes exist, because they're real. Most Indians actually go to America and end up becoming engineers or doctors or scientists. Like, you know, most of the Uber drivers you meet are from Pakistan or India or Bangladesh.
Right.
So it's set in reality. It's not something where they've said कि नहीं Indian है तो भाई यही हो सकता है. It's what is real, na. But you don't, as an audience, you don't just want to be seen as that.
Right.
Because there are these people who are also artists, who are also like, you know, like, I don't know, like an archaeologist. So an Indian could also be an archaeologist, he could also be something else. But for that part to be written, you need somebody who actually believes in it from a personal space. Which is why I said it's important for us to have more subcontinent writers in the West, for those kind of roles, for us actors to be able to do them.
Yeah, it's very interesting because your episode is, I think, directed by Richie Mehta and written by Rajiv Joseph.
Yeah.
So that also helped, I'm sure.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, then, you know, what's the update on Kho Gaye Hum Kahan?
The update is that we just shot for one more day 3 days ago. We have one more day of shoot in May.
Okay.
So it's almost done, I guess. But I think that it'll potentially release in September or October by the end of the year. That's the update. But I'm so proud of the film, and I'm so happy that Zoya, Reema and Arjun thought that I could play a character from Bandra, because it's a side of me that I never got the chance to show, because I've grown up in Bombay. It's been 16 years, but I've never played a character from Bombay.
Yeah.
And I feel this is a great way to sort of get onto that. Yeah, to start playing like more characters from Bombay, from the city where I grew up in.
Yeah. Is this the most Bollywood film that we'll see you in?
I don't know if it's the most Bollywood film, but it's the most It's the lightest film that I've done till now.
Lightest film.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, lastly, before we let you go, Adarsh, what do you want to do? Iske baad, is there something that you really want to do? What's the game plan like?
Honestly, right now, what I want to do is that I want to shoot my own documentary.
Oh, wow.
And I want to make some music, and I want to travel a lot. That's what I want to do.
Have you started working on your documentary?
I haven't. So when I was watching All That Breeds, I realized that I had gone to Kaziranga 3 years ago, and it's a trip that I talked to a lot of my friends about because it had a lot of effect on me. But like some very significant things had happened during that trip.
Yeah.
And I'd met some people who had told me stories that I didn't realize how powerful they were when they were being told to me. But now in retrospect, when I think about it, I'm like, shit, this is a story that should be known by more people.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I feel, I feel like I want to shoot my own documentary and do something about in that space.
That's great. Looking forward to that.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Adarsh.
Thank you.
All the very best for everything that you have to offer.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Adarsh Gourav and you're watching me on News 18 Showsha.